Welcome, Kyle Perry, to Coaching in Session. How are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
Of course. Today, we're going to have you on as a mindset coach. We're going to be talking about your history and we're going to be talking about the work that you do. And I do want to say that before we start this, it's going to be a rated R, maybe a rated MA conversation. Because when I reached out to you, you were like, I have a very tough way of putting things. And I love that. I don't like to sugarcoat things. Having someone come on who can say it how it is a breath of fresh air because there's so many people who are weak, so many people who are docile. And I mean, I get attacked all the time on Twitter, all the time, everywhere, because I'm saying what it is, how it is, and people don't like it. So we're going to be raunchy today. But before we do that, tell the people who you are, what you do, and how you help.
So my name's Kyle Perry. I'm a Marine Corps veteran. I've lost 100 pounds since finding sobriety because drinking is very normal in the military, and then most people drink when they get out. Pretty much what I do, I'm a mindset, fitness, and nutrition coach, and my motto is making men and veterans strong again through breaking their vices to get back on the hardest mission they call life. Because, like you said, so many people are just so offended, so excuse driven, just so stuck in their ways to not want to hold themselves accountable. And that's why the world is going the way it is right now.
And which direction is the world going? Is it going in a place where it's going to be, no turning back, or is it a turn where we can maybe make some changes?
So I actually feel like it's swinging back the other way. I feel like there's more people like me and you who aren't scared to say what they want on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and we're holding the negative comments accountable. Like negative people will come onto my page and I'll say something back to them, and then they act like they're the victim. But don't come on someone's page expecting to say something negative when it's a positive page, and don't and expect not to get checked back because we're just getting tired of the narrative of the lazy, weak mindsets trying to push it onto us that we're the bad people. When all we're trying to do is tell the world if you just work hard and be who you want to be, you can do anything you want with a positive mindset.
Why do you think we are attacked for having a strong and powerful mindset?
I think people talk about ego a lot, but they have it wrong. We're not the ones with the ego. The one that tells you how to fix your life and how they make the money and how you can improve your life is the one giving you all the tools to the trade. The person that really has a big ego and thinks that they're important is the person that's negative, hasn't done anything with their life, then come and try to push their life onto you when they've never even accomplished anything. They come and try to tell the people that are actually doing good with the world that they need to shut up, that they need to humble themselves, but the word humble, by definition, is a very negative word. It's to lower your standard of yourself. Why would anybody want to humble themselves just because you hurt someone else's ego? It doesn't make any sense.
When we look at some of the male figure role models, we have our Jordan Petersons, we have our Andrew Tates, right? We see them do good in their own right. They want men to do better. They talk about what men are going through, how to get over it. But yet these people are attacked on a daily basis. As we were saying in our inboxes on our pages, we get attacked, but not even to the degree of those two men. And those are just two examples. There are many more men who do great work helping men say, hey, you can be more than what you are right now. Why do you think these men are being attacked? Do you think it's just the people, or do you think there's like a higher power at work trying to make all men weak?
I think it's both. And I also think they sometimes say things that the one thing that I don't agree with Andrew Tate is how he talks like about how you should have multiple women in your life and multiple things because it's how a man should be. Because if you pass your energy on to multiple people, you're going to get their energy back because that's real. Karmic debt is real. And the more energy you give to people that aren't good people, it's not a good thing. So that's the only message I don't agree with Andrew Tate and like a lot of the higher like male figures. Because if a male and a woman can stick together, it can be the best power couple ever because it takes a strong woman to make a strong man or a strong couple in general. And I think that part alone drives a narrative where like all the women come and attack him. So it's really hard for him to ever make the threshold to the next level. So then they come and they try to say he's a misogynist and they try to like say that he like did weird things to women, but then all the women that's ever been around him was like, no, that's never happened. It was just an image that they painted to get to them, which they needed to do to get to that level of caliber. Because you have to be somewhat offensive to go anywhere on the internet. Because you have to like touch someone's soul enough to where they're offended enough to make a comment that pushes the algorithm out more. because I tried the whole just super positive approach. And I mean, I got just as many hate comments, but I didn't get as many positive comments because anytime you tell someone to change their life, they're going to hate it. They don't want to agree with you. They don't want to admit that they're in the wrong.
When we look at other people's life, like Andrew Tate, of course, we're not going to agree with everything he says. There are things that Jordan Peterson says that I don't agree with, but yet I can still listen to them and say, you know what? He has a point. Or I would modify it this way if I want to share it with my audience versus everyone saying, oh my God, this is toxic. Because now we get into the conversation of why men are being feminine, why men are choosing to be weak, because it's easier to be a female. And I'm not saying that they have it all easy, they have their hardships, but there's a reason why a lot of men are becoming trans now and they're not choosing to step into manhood. There's a reason for that.
1,000%. And it almost gets shunned upon if you're a man. This is the weird thing about it. So I don't care if anyone wants to be trans or gender, or they want whatever they want to do, right? But if I go to the doctor and I want to feel like more of a man, why is it harder for me to get testosterone than a female that wants to turn into a male? If I want to optimize my hormones because I don't feel correctly, why should I not be allowed to get testosterone versus an SSRI or some kind of mental health pill when your hormones are the ones that play the biggest factor in how you feel? Like, we're so scared to offend people that we let that slide. But like when it comes to a man or a female that want to optimize their own hormones, all of a sudden they're like, oh, you can't do that. That's borderline steroids and it's not healthy for you. But as soon as it's the opposite gender, all of a sudden it's okay because they don't want to offend anyone. But you're still putting that exogenous amount in their body. So if it's not healthy for a male, it's not healthy, definitely not healthy for a female to turn into a male by putting that much hormones into their body that's not even supposed to be there. It doesn't make any sense.
And then we look at, well, they're not giving the hormones to the men and they're giving the hormones to the women, maybe, or vice versa, but they're readily giving hormones to children. Well, if a kid wants to feel like they're a boy or a girl and they're the opposite sex, they can. So let's give them the hormones because they are so intuitive and they know everything about their body. And there's a video, and then I'm going to let you take it. It happened a couple of months ago, I think, where there's a father, he had a son, and he had $10,000, and he was like, all right, do you want $10,000 or 2 Oreo cookies? And this kid is like 4 years old. And the kid is like, I want the 2 Oreo cookies. And the dad's like, I don't think you understand. $10,000 cash, cold cash. And the boy's like, no, I just want the Oreo cookies. Basically, the logic is they're saying that kids can make the choice, be gender affirmed to the opposite sex or whatever, or to be on some type of hormone blockers or whatever, but they're kids. And that was a great example right there of kids don't know any better. Most people would have taken the $10,000, not saying that money is everything, but right there, that shows logic. Going to pass it to you there.
If anyone has kids that's listening, like, would you ever let your kid make a normal adult decision? Like, I don't understand why, when it comes to changing their genders, we'll let them decide, but you still pick out their clothes. You still tell them when to brush their teeth. You still tell them what chores to do. And you still have these debates. Like, my son is almost 12 years old, and I still have to guide him through a lot of things because you're still young. So, like, the fact that we like give them the choice on that matter, but we don't give them the choice on anything else. Like, you should, if you think they can change their gender at 10 years old, at that point, you should be able to let them move out on their own. Like, if it's that serious of a choice, like, it doesn't, but it goes back to like, we don't want to offend anyone. So, like, we're just letting it happen. And it's like the craziest thing ever because I seen something that I think it was Florida banned it to where kids, like anybody that gives kids hormones, they can get charged, like the doctors can. And like, there was an uproar, like, oh my God, they're taking away our rights. Like, they're freaking out more about that than the all the stuff they forced COVID on.
I mean, we are in a crazy time right now since 2019, and it seems like we're just spiraling into a worse situation. And we do have to ask ourselves, well, what do we do? How do we fix this? What is our next step?
I'm not even sure if like, how do you fix it? Because like if you get too big on social media, they cancel you. We've seen it over and over again. Andy Frisella does a pretty good job about trying to open people's eyes up, but like they have to shut his industry down so much. If he doesn't ask people to share his videos, then it doesn't even get shared because YouTube like dies it down. I don't really know how we fixed it because when you start to talk about these things, and I noticed this a lot with the people in my group, is that when you post something and social media doesn't like it, they put a flag on it and they say it's not true information. How do you fix it if they keep banning it and flagging it? I don't know. I mean, I know there's Rumble and there's all these other things to talk on, but if people keep, they won't support that Rumble because they don't want to switch. So I don't know how to get them there.
Do you think this is going to be an individual effort to get people more in line to the correct mindset? Or is this going to be a community-based, cultural, societal-based effort that we need to get everyone on board in order to make some change?
I think we have to start like kind of how I do mindset, fitness, and nutrition coaching. I think there has to be more people that teach people mindset that are in higher up places. Like we have to be able to get to the minds of the people that are actually in charge and tell them how we feel. That way, those people can start making a difference. Because right now, they're scared to get canceled. They're scared to lose their jobs. They're just agreeing with it, like everyone's just agreeing with everyone because they think that's the norm. And the crazy thing is, the more we go through society and the more we see this over and over and over again, is we realize like a lot of these things on the internet are fake robots coming and telling us that, oh, that's not the case, but they paid like 1,000 comments to come attack that page, and they're not even real people. I got canceled on TikTok one time by 7 million people. But as I went in and I clicked on the profiles, it was like the Indonesian profiles with like no real people, with no room posted on them. Somebody had pretty much saw my video and then boosted the comments on it and then got me canceled that way by a bunch of like 95% of them were fake comments, but it looked real. And I never even knew that was a thing until Andy Frisella started talking about it. He said, it looks like we're the outcasts, but we're not. They go above and beyond to cancel people and they hire fake accounts and they do all these extra things that it makes it almost impossible for us to win because it looks like no one's on our side. But even when I got canceled, there were people in there saying, he's right, no, he's right, no, he's right, no, he's right. My video had 1 million likes. So 1 million people agreed with me, but it had like 7 million comments of people disagreeing with me that made it look like I was the outlier. But the people that liked my page were real people, and the people that didn't, they were like the fake spammy robots. Like, yeah, there was obviously some people that didn't agree with my message that were real, but as you went down the line, you could tell it was like little young kids or like fake profiles. It was no like grown man. It was nobody that would agree. But long story short, how I got canceled was, remember when the Super Bowl happened and everyone was calling 50 Cent fat
Hmm.
when he was hanging upside down? I stitched that and I stitched a picture of Lizzo. And I said, why does the society call 50 Cent fat as he's hanging upside down and he's 50 years old and he's been in great shape his entire life? But we tell Lizzo she's beautiful. I think everyone can love themselves in any weight they want to as long as they're happy. But we have to find a middle line. Like if we're going to tell Lizzo she's beautiful, 50 Cent has to be beautiful when he's hanging upside down looking fat. Like you can't come and attack a male just because it doesn't fit your agenda. And there was tons of females sharing that meme. So I made a video about that, and then this famous lady kind of stitched it, and then like people just ran with the racist to it. But it's the truth. We don't hold women to the same standard we hold men, and we don't hold the people that are trying to cancel people to the same standards, because they say some grotesque things to the people that are trying to cancel, tell them to go kill themselves, tell them like they should fucking they should die, that their spouse should cheat on them. Like a bunch of these fake profiles and like a bunch of these young girls like was messaging my wife like, your husband's a pedophile, he follows all these young kids. Like they were just trying to make up anything they could to like get me canceled, and all I did was say Lizzo is fat, which she is.
I mean, it's hard to say the truth in this society because people, they are very soft, they're fragile, and when there is a dominant force in front of them, they have only one choice: to retreat. But the way they retreat is by giving false flags. All right, well, like I'm going to do comment a call, I'm going to report you, I'm going to reach out to your mom or your wife or whatever, and I'm going to say all of this stuff. And luckily for us, I don't know your wife, but I can imagine that since you have a strong mindset, you did your due diligence and you made sure you found the best woman for yourself and for your family. The same thing with me. And I told my wife early on, I said, it's not going to be easy. I'm going to get attacked and people are going to come to you and they're going to say things. I just want to warn you. And then she was like, in the beginning, She didn't believe it. And then, sure enough, it started to happen. But it wasn't from the men in her life, it was all from the women. And most of these women are feministic. They have that feminist type mentality. Some are like they hate men, some are gay. Nothing wrong with that. But then at the same time, we have to look at the demeanor of what feminism is. It's not so much of woman empowerment anymore. It's the hatred of men, where it's like, I don't want to see another woman do well if she's in a happy relationship with a man. I don't want men to do well. So I'm going to belittle men. I'm going to make men weak. I'm going to feminize men and we're going to promote it. And so if there's a successful man like 50 Cent looking a little bit chubby because he's hanging upside down or whatever, he's a little bit older. Okay. Yeah, sure. But guess what? He is still someone who shows up every single day. And he's most likely a man that many women want because he has the status. Most of these women who are going out and putting career first, they want these high caliber men, but men have adjusted saying, well, if women want to go out and do their own thing, we don't have to really do much. We're taking the easy road, or most men are taking the easy road. They're staying home, they're playing video games, they're not going to the gym. They have the wrong mindset. Why do you think we live in a society where feminism is the way it is today and not what it used to be, where it was empowering women to be powerful, to be in healthy relationships? Now it's being single, being career driven, and not needing a man.
I think it's the same thing like we talked about with the transgender thing. We let it go on too far and then we let the weirdos get inside of it. Because if you actually do feel like you're transgender, that's one thing. But then to force it on the kids and force it onto like the more you keep letting it get weirder and crazier, we did the same thing with feminism. It started with women empowerment, which is awesome because a strong woman is sweet. Like I have two daughters, I want them to be the strongest women on the planet. But when they start to attack the other gender just to make themselves feel strong, that's not empowerment anymore. You're literally doing the exact opposite of what your whole mission was about. We do this in society where we create this movement and then we let all the weirdos get inside of it without checking them, and then it goes haywire. Every single movement we've ever had on this planet has done that. Like it starts off, even if you look at the Bloods and the Crips gang members. It started off as empowering the world, empowering your neighborhood, and now it's just a bunch of killing, it's a bunch of violence, and a bunch of like, oh, you can't wear this color, you can't wear that color. But it didn't start off that way. That's the same thing with feminism. That's the same thing with the LGBT community. It starts to add more letters and get more weird because now they're even like pedophiles are trying to push their way in there and saying that, oh, they can't help that they like little kids. We got to find a fine line and we just got to cut it. Like, this is what we're going to accept. And anybody else out of that factor is not getting in this, period. It's the only way we can change it. But like, too many people are scared to say it because they're scared to get canceled. They're scared, which I mean, you can get canceled, which sucks. And if you have a business online, it takes one false narrative and you're done.
It could be scary for business owners who don't want their name out there. But when we look at people like Alex Jones, he was banned, he's canceled, he's attacked, and he's bigger than ever now. And it's because he remained resilient. He has the mindset of resilience. When we are going against these attacks, when we're going against these notions that we're going to have opinion be emotional and our emotions are going to reign supreme and not our logic, we go too far. All right. Emotions are just going to take us further than our logic will. And most of the time, it's going to be skewed and we're going to think incorrectly. We are not going to see the repercussions for our actions. We're not going to see that, all right, well, if I put off having a family, what is that going to do to me? If I put off going to the gym, what is that going to do to me? What is the process for us to show up more with mindset now? Do we have to get into the gym? Do we have to get a mindset coach? Do we have to throw away our phones, turn off the news? What's the first step?
In my opinion, even if they don't pick me as a mindset coach, I think everybody in life should have a mentor because whether you want to admit it or not, you have a mentor already. Especially if you're living a bad life, your mentor is that group of your friend that's like the head guy that has all the parties at his house, that does all the things, all the negative things that you follow and you listen to and you take advice from. Because all friends talk to each other. They have a mentor, they just don't realize it. They just have the wrong mentor. So if you want to build a better life, you have to get around people willing to help you get that better life, because it doesn't change, or it doesn't impact yourself without the change itself. You can never do better without bettering yourself. So pretty much, if you want to make a change, I would suggest getting a mindset coach or a mentor, or just starting to internalize the change, because you cannot fix yourself in the same environment that you're in now if everyone around you is talking you out of it. Because the thing that's going to suck is like, personal development and bettering yourself is an extremely lonely road. You're going to lose friends. You might even lose your spouse. You might even lose relatives. But if it's a life that you're supposed to be living, and you know there's a purpose behind it, and you know you need a better life, that's going to have to be a risk that you guys are going to be having to willing to take. Because at the end of the day, with negative people around you, you cannot thrive. Because I had this when I was trying to improve my life. Oh, it's just one drink. Oh, you cuss too much. Oh, you make these videos like they're not going to help anybody. Oh, don't do this. And now I have a very successful mindset, fitness, and nutrition coaching brand that I do full time. I don't have that. I was able to leave my corporate job. I get to stay home with my daughter. My other two kids are in school. If I would have listened to everyone around me, I would have stayed at that corporate job and stopped making videos, because everyone said they were too offensive and they would never work. But it changed my entire life the day that I got a mentor, and he told me to do and say whatever I wanted to, because at the end of the day, somebody's there that wants to listen to you. Might not be you, it might not be one person on this podcast, but it might be somebody on the next podcast. It might be someone on the next podcast. It might be someone on my next video. And then you just change one life at a time until all of a sudden you change 100 lives. And when you change 100 lives, you really change thousands of lives, because the lives those people changed around them by getting positive and getting in shape and feeling. So the best way you have to do it is either get a mentor or just change your environment. But if you haven't made the change internally and accepted that you need change yourself, it's going to fail. Because I left for the military thinking it would change my life, and I got in just as much trouble in there because I had to internalize my change.
Yeah, many people are just living in their excuses, staying in their circumstance. They're wishing, they're hoping. I mean, if we look back at 2020, on the onset of the pandemic and the lockdowns, when everyone was told to stay inside for 2 weeks, okay, cool, right? We got to flatten the curve. But then everyone was like, oh, this is nice. I get to stay home. I get to work from home now. I don't have to go out into the world anymore. I don't have to show up. I don't have to dress up. I don't have to look good anymore. Literally, people just see the top of my body. They don't see the bare belly. They don't see the big thighs. It doesn't matter anymore. And then they loved it. And I'm thinking in my head, what's wrong with these people? Because I'm over here trying to go to the gym. I'm trying to go out and meet people, and I'm trying to go live my life. I'm not trying to stay in my house. Now, when they moved to 3 months, they were like, oh, yeah, we're going to have to be locked down for 3 months. I was like, what person in their right mind would allow this? And everyone willingly was saying, well, we have to get back to normal. Why do you think people are so blind?
I think it goes back to the scarce mentality that they built. We kept letting this stuff go on for so long. I think, like, I hate to get into like super political stuff, because like it's so hard to really know what's going on. But when the government sees that they can push you so far over and over and over again, they weren't even concerned that we would push back. They knew we wouldn't push back, because we haven't pushed back on anything. And it sucks, because this is what sucks about society is like, you want to cancel things that you don't agree with when they push a message on you that you don't like the whole Bud Light thing that happened and everyone canceled Bud Light. Bud Light should have never posted that commercial or did that thing. I agree, because it didn't match with their persona. But at the same time, imagine how many lives and jobs we probably had people lose because we canceled Bud Light and they lost money, and now those families can't eat. We got to be able to send a message without ruining the people's lives that actually care about us, because we're one team, one fight, and the big companies and the government aren't. But the only people we're ruining is the low level people, because those people probably lost their jobs. Because when I worked in the corporate world, my sales reps, he was best friends with a sales rep from Bud Light, and he said his portfolio is down 40% and it's still not back. So that guy makes less money now, so he provides less for his family, all because Bud Light wanted to go out and make a stance that never agreed. Like, they should have known that never would have hit their audience correctly. So that was just a failed marketing attempt on theirs to like ride the wave. But we got to figure out how to stop people from even getting to the point to do that, so we don't ruin more lives by trying to cancel them, because that sucks for all those people that don't make as much money now because Bud Light want to go out of their way to do something that didn't make sense for their audience. Ford did the same thing. Like there's a lot of people we keep canceling, but those companies don't suffer. The top end people don't suffer. They just cut the jobs of the people at the weakest link, and then all those lives. So I really don't know how we would fix it, but it's definitely a scarce mentality, and that's why COVID went along so for so long. And we're trying to fight back against it, but I think we're just fighting back against it in the wrong way. I think we just got to say, you're not going to push the image on us. Stop talking about it. If you sell beer, why do I have to know what side of the fence you sit on? Why do I have to know your political agenda? What does your beer taste like? What is your marketing campaign for making me want to drink that beer? That's all I need to know. I don't need to know anything. You don't have to be political in this world. I don't really ever preach anything political on my page, and I'm doing great. I don't know why so many companies feel the need to force everything down people's throats now. They do the same thing when politics come around or the president. Like they force all these, like it's weird. I don't we live in like a cult-like society. I've seen so many people post like this is the president, this is who we should get. That's not my president. But they've never voted a day in their life. It's like people are just talking to talk at this point.
It's interesting the times we're living in. And what I can say, especially with the whole fiasco with Bud Light, it was mostly one person who was like, you know what, this is a great idea. And then so they sold the idea to everyone. And everyone else was like, yeah, it makes sense, right? Because they're going along with the trends, they're going along with the times. But there's a secret that not many people know. You know it, I'm sure. There's a monster within us, a voice, a demon, whatever you want to call it. There's something inside of us. Whether you have done it or whether you have not done it, it has done it for you. There's a line. And once it is crossed, you start to feel something. You're like, I don't know what this is, but I don't like it. What happened was that was the onset of someone stepping over the line, your line. And if you can learn how to harness that power, you can do amazing things. That's mindset. That's why a mindset coach can help elevate your life. Last question. What is your demon? What does your monster look like?
So my monster, my demon, if per se, is I talk about being sober now, was alcohol. I've always been a super successful person. I went to the military, I thrived in the Marine Corps. Came out, I thrived in the corporate world. I was the youngest plant manager on paper of a chemical company. But alcohol was always holding me back to the fullest extent. Like that's why I gained my weight. That's why I did a lot of things that I probably shouldn't have, and that's why I ultimately decided to get sober. Because pretty much what happened was I got into an altercation where I thought I really hurt this guy. We were on a cruise ship. I got into this altercation. This guy's head was like super swollen. And then, like an hour later, I hear over the intercom that they had to turn around because they couldn't medevac this person. He had a brain injury. And in my head, I'm like, it's that guy that I did got an altercation with. He has brain bleeding. Like, this is my final straw. This is my last bullet I'm going to dodge. An hour later, I saw him walking around. So it wasn't him. But like, that was like my final, like, oh, I really got to like change what I'm doing now. So that's always been my demon is alcohol. But on the grand scheme of things, like an addictive personality is a blessing and a curse because it's why I'm so successful. I take that addictive personality, and that's how I became super high up in the corporate world. That's how I did really good in the Marine Corps, and that's how I'm doing amazing things in this mindset, fitness, and nutrition coaching. I paid for a mentor. I paid him $12,000 for 6 months of coaching, and I make more than I ever did at that six-figure job just by making videos, messaging people, telling them how I can improve their life. And people will say that it's expensive and this is that and that. I charge $299 a month or $750 for 3 months. But when people say they're expensive, I say, well, let's break down your bank account. They open up your statement. They've spent four, five, $600 on alcohol, cigarettes, gas station trips. That's not gas. They're spending that money on investing in themselves, but instead of investing in themselves in the correct way, they're killing themselves. And I tell people all the time, like if you invest the 3 months, because that's about the time I need to understand someone's mindset fully, their body, and how they cooperate, they will save $2,000 to $3,000 every 3 months just by cutting out the excess alcohol, the foods, the cigarettes. And I'm not saying you can't eat fast food. I'm not saying you can't enjoy your life. There is a way to be able to eat fast food and still get the body you want, still get the mindset you want by incorporating it into your macros, which is your fats, carbs, and proteins. People just can't self-access, but like my demon is definitely alcohol, but everyone else's demon 95% of the time is food. Like, especially addicts, they're like, "Oh, I broke my addiction," but then they're 400 pounds, 300 pounds. Like, dude, you didn't break anything. You switched. You switched your addiction from alcohol to food. That's all you did. Nothing else. You didn't solve your addiction problem.
Yeah, it's important to understand the aspect of the things that make us weak, but then they can also make us strong, right? Because your sobriety was a weakness, but it also became your strength, right? Because you learned that you can overcome it. And then right there, you allowed yourself saying, okay, now I can win. You got a coach, you got a mentor. And then from there, you started to elevate yourself. And that's what we have to do as people. We have to elevate ourselves constantly. And it's not going to be a walk in the park. And it's not something that you can do by yourself all the time. I always say, get a coach, get someone to be on your side to help you see your blind spots, to work with you, not against you, because the world's against you. Everything the world wants for you is not conducive to success, happiness, fulfillment, joy, whatever. You need to start to change your mindset. And the work that Kyle does is exactly that. Kyle, before we sign off, please tell us a final word, final thought, and then where the audience can find you.
If you want to make a change in your life, you have to start today. If you're listening to this and you got motivated to lose weight, pack your breakfast and your lunch for tomorrow. Because when you wake up tomorrow without motivation, the discipline of you already having that food packed is what's going to get you to the next day. So many people, they're motivated in the time. Fitness is an emotional state of mind, fitness and mindset. If I motivated you or someone motivates you or a video motivates you, you have to use that emotional connection you have with that video right then and there to pre-prep your success, or you're going to wake up the next day and not want to do it. You just have to start. And you can just find me on Perry's_powerhouse_fitness on Instagram. And if anyone wants any mindset, fitness, or nutrition coaching, you just message me. And if anyone's not in the personal development themselves, you can also message me. I operate a GoFundMe. Every $750 donated, I mentor veterans for free for 3 months to put them back on the hardest mission we call life, because I don't feel like America does enough for them. So that's just one more way I can help people out and feed my business and get myself on bigger podcasts, bigger platforms, and actually make a difference.
Perfect. And I will definitely make it easy for everyone. All those links are going to be in the description box below. Check out what Kyle's doing. What we talked about today might be borderline upsetting to you, but understand that when you have those moments of grief, those moments of awareness, an awakening happens. You could start to see your true self, what needs to happen, and then you start to take action. So Kyle's going to be a great fit for you. Everyone, the links are in the description box below. Reach out to Kyle and begin to change your life.